All right, welcome back to the Hammer Down Show, 1017 The Hammer, 1017thehammer.com. And joining me in studio, a man that I have the utmost respect for, the man, whenever I think of Purdue and anything to do with any legends, Mr. Leroy Keyes is the first man that comes to mind. Leroy, how are we doing today?
Stu, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So let's go back. Let's talk a little bit real quick about your high school, the multiple positions you played, and maybe why coming to Purdue was meant for you.
I think the coaches at that time recognized that this guy had some skills that we could utilize to benefit all the programs, whether it was track and field, whether it was football, whether it was basketball, whether it was baseball. I'm going to say I was an athlete for all seasons. When I took a break, it was probably because I couldn't swim and I didn't want to go in the deep end of the pool. But when I look back at it and having the opportunity to play multiple positions at that time was beneficial to me because you never know exactly what coaches are going to do with you down the road. You come in here as a highly rated wide receiver, and the coach says, well, you don't look too bad as a running back. Or you don't look too bad as a safety.
The more you can do, right? Yeah, the more attractive you are to those coaches.
And so I just said, don't limit yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When you put limitations on yourself, you're sitting on the bench talking to your teammates. I believe I belong out there because, see, nobody knows you when you're sitting on the bench but to see the back of your jersey. I want to be where the ACTION is. I want to be in the action. And I felt like the more I played, the more I had a chance to make some noise.
I want to talk about that 66 year, that 67 Rose Bowl, because there's a lot of parallels between the 2000 Rose Bowl and
Right.
hearing the information. So you guys go up to South Bend, you lose. You go to East Lansing, you lose. 2000, we go up to South Bend, lose. We go to East Lansing, lose. But talking about that year, I know for us, practices were a competition. And you had talked about on Shot Down Memory Lane, when you talk about Greasy, that those guys were winners, competitors. And that's how Drew Brees was and those seniors that we had,
Right.
with a mixture of the young freshmen that we had. But talk about the tempo and the mentality that you had going into each practice that season.
Every day was a day of what do I do or what can I do to make a teammate better? We didn't pull any punches.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like mixed martial arts. You want to try to kill a guy across from you. I mean,
And we did,
If
yeah.
he's playing wide receiver and he's got his head looking in here and they don't see you sneak up and you put a forearm in his chest and knock him on the turf and you stand over like, hey, sucker, you better find out where the cornerback is. Because next time, you could be the primary receiver on this play. Tackling, we got down in the pits. Nowadays, they take the dressing off the kids and say, okay, we don't want anybody to get hurt. We got to have them all ready next week. Next man up. That was our belief. Stu, when I look at that freshman team we had some athletes who decided we're not riding the pine.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to play. Perry Williams was a quarterback in high school at Withrow in Cincinnati, starting fullback. Marion Griffin, tight end, CVS out of Chicago. Muscles in places that most people think I might have a muscle there. Clanton King from St. Rita, Chicago. Chuck Kyle, Newport, Kentucky. Chuck Kyle made 26 tackles in one game as a nose guard.
My Lord.
And he's only weighed 215. Chuck Kyle said, if you come near me, I will tear your arm off, then I'll thrust it down your butt. He was that type of ball player. So you knew you couldn't come out there being tippet. You had to be hot. You had to be passionate. Because the bottom line is uncontrolled mayhem, but it was mayhem. And we weren't happy with the fact that going to South Bend, I think what happened was a lot of us had never been on the road in a Big Ten game before or a game against the independent like Notre Dame.
Yep.
So we were kind of like, who's Notre Dame? Back when you're young, living in your neighborhood, you hear about the Notre Dame. You don't hear about Purdue. But here we are in the Big Ten, and we call ourselves spoiler makers, boiler makers, whatever label you give us. But after that year, when we lost those games, we were like, man, nobody at Purdue had ever repeated. We figured we went in 66. We can't go back in 67, but we can go back in 68. And we were playing really to go back. We didn't want to wait another 100 years for another Purdue team showed up at the Rose Bowl. And you figure 66 to 2000. That's a lot of years in between. And we've had some great, fantastic talent come through Purdue University.
We have.
And it took that long for us to get back. Now, 2000, now here we're at 2019, and we don't look like we're going to make it to the Rose Bowl this year. But the bottom line is, I think each team has to have a template. What is going to be our legacy as we walk out the door and give the key to the next young man, freshman, redshirt, sophomore, whatever? Are we going to leave something that they can say, we want to be better? We're going to take it one brick higher. I think right now, I don't see the fire in the belly. I see a lot of kids who, I'm glad I go to college. I'm glad I play on the football team.
Just happy to be
I'm glad
to be out
be
there.
A part of.
Yeah.
But our whole zest was, man, I can't wait to play Notre Dame. I can't wait to play.
You had hatred for them.
We had hatred. I have no respect for any other university. I go to Purdue University. I don't go to Notre Dame. I want to beat the stuffing out of these guys.
I'm the same way.
That's me.
I lived in Michigan for the last 10 years, and everyone comes up to me, hey, who's going to win, Michigan State? I said, I don't care. I hate those schools.
I hate both of them.
I hate both of them.
I don't go to either one of them. I go to Purdue. And when I see
now in a bowl game, I want the Big Ten to do well.
Thank you.
But
we share the money. It's like I want to call it like Tom Cruise and my boy. Show me the money. And that's what that is when you go to the bowl games. But when you're representing your university, like homecoming coming this week, we're going to wear the special helmets.
And
everything.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
Really, really cool.
But see, my thing is, I don't give a rats. But I'm not going to say what else after rats. I don't care if we go out there and we look like Stargate.
Yeah.
We look like Galatia. We look like Spider-Man. We look like Marvel Comics.
I
want to win.
Yeah.
I want these guys to walk off the field knowing that, Maryland, you picked the wrong Saturday to be in Ross-Ade Stadium. We got to turn this program around. It starts now with you. It don't start next year with the guys who come in next year. It starts now with you. And I like to see that attitude permeate throughout the whole team.
And joining us on the show, in studio, on the Hammer Down Show, is Leroy Keyes. And Leroy, we talked about angles, right? That's one thing you talked about. Well, let me start with this, though. We have 25 freshmen or redshirt freshmen, plus another 7 that start. What does that mean to you for this season, but what does that mean to you for the future?
Stuart, I'm going to be honest as I can without sounding
and that's what we want.
bad.
That's what we want.
Here's the situation. I'm not coaching, and I know the coaching staff at Purdue University is doing their darndest to make sure that all these players understand we recruited you for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Academically, you got to go in the classroom and make the grades. We can't come in there and we can't send a robot in and do testing for you. You got to get the job done. It's the same thing in football. When you come out on the field, you know you're a freshman. I don't think nobody has walked up to you and surprised you and said, oh, guess what? You're a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
You know you're a freshman. You were the best player at your school. That's why we recruited you. Now we want you to be the best player at our school, Purdue University. All you have to do is take the year and say, don't remind anybody that you're a freshman. They know. It's too many freshmen in this country who are playing prominent roles, and I guess they can sit back and say, well, they can do that because this kid is so good. There's not a football player in the world better than me.
Mm-hmm.
If you play like you're not good, you'll perform like you're not good. But if you believe that I deserve, and I'm going to show these coaches, I'm going to show my teammates, I'm going to show the fans that I belong on this field, and I'm going to get the job done. You can't go to college without being a freshman.
Yeah. Can these here's the question or something I keep telling these freshmen, guys like George and Jalen Graham and Cameron Allen and Ahmad Anderson and Plummer and these guys is there's no reason they can't be leaders of this team, correct? Just because you're a freshman, I think those guys have earned the right because they have come out there, they have competed, they have showed they can play. Why can't they step up and be leaders?
Let's do it this way, Stuart. And I'm not going to knock anybody in the military. Hopefully, I don't. But some of our 5-star generals, 4-star generals, our commanders, whether they're on a submarine, on an aircraft carrier, you name it, have never been in battle in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
All these football players have been in battle to some degree.
They have, yeah.
So the bottom line is, don't tell me I can't play the game. I got to wait my turn.
Mm-hmm.
My turn is today, not tomorrow. But see, you're not going to please Stuart and you're not going to please Leroy. The bottom line is, those coaches, you got to make them say, wow.
Yeah, you're right.
What did I miss that I should have known? Show the coaches that you belong on the field. And we'll just disregard the fact that if he can get an extra year out of you by redshirting you, fine. But the bottom line is, the first time I saw Jonathan Taylor run the ball, I didn't have to say, well, he's like Ron Dane. No, Jonathan Taylor is like Jonathan Taylor.
Exactly, yeah.
The boy.
I hate making comparisons.
Play the game.
I hate making comparisons.
And so all I'm trying to say to a lot of our younger players, guys, don't wait until the trial is empty. Because it's a sad feeling to go to trial and try to get water and nothing in there left for you. Go there when it's full and drink as much as you want. The bottom line, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, you just tell the guys, hey, there's a collision heading your way. It's a train wreck. I'm going to be playing. So if you bring your A game and I bring my A game, we got a hell of a team coming here, boy, because I know if you play as hard as you can play and I play as hard as I can play, we can't do nothing but be successful and win. But the bottom line, if you sit there and say, well, I don't want to go on the field because that guy's my boy. When I came here, I had no boys. I didn't know them. They didn't know me.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And
You're right.
said, I want. Stuart,
you can't have nice guys, right? You can't have nice guys.
You can't sit on the bench and say, oh, well, it's a saying that we had in basketball when I was young playing basketball. It said, I shot a ball into the air. It fell in the gym I know not where. That is why I sit and dream on the bench with the second team. Not me. I did not shoot the ball in there. I'm on the floor. I'm going to be out there shooting the free throws, shooting the jumpers, getting the rebound, making the assists. And it's the same thing that these kids had to understand. God, why not me? Why not me? Why not now? Not when I'm a senior, because when you're a senior, your chances of getting drafted in the NFL, unless you had a hell of a sophomore and junior season, are almost nil and none.
You're right.
So if you start the process now, sky's the limit.
Joining us on the Hammer Down Show is my good friend and Purdue legend, Leroy Keyes. And Leroy, last thing here, talk to me about, we talked about the angles out there, and we have a lot of young guys out there. Is it hard for guys to practice full speed when we have so many guys injured and the physicality is taken away because we don't want to have more injuries? So how do you combat that when you're trying to be more physical, but it's almost as a coaching staff you're scared because you don't want to have anyone else get hurt?
But that's why you get hurt.
You're right.
When you play scared,
you
get hurt.
You do.
You can't afford to go on the field and play like I'm going to play not to get hurt.
Yeah.
That's when you get hurt. So the bottom line is my advice to any kid on the field. Guys, if you get hurt, it's part of the game.
Part of the game.
Your body was not...
You'll never be at 100%, right?
Never.
Besides day one.
You're not going to be at 100% day one. Because when you were first born, you got some complications.
You're right.
You don't cry like every other baby in the neighborhood.
Right.
Right, Dad? Right, Mom? But the bottom line is, if you play scared, you will get injured. The worst thing I've seen in football, and it's called being aggressive, but staying out of harm's way.
Yeah.
See, when the guy is standing around the pile and everybody else is coming in kamikaze and diving over, they never hurt the guy on the ground. It's the guy who's standing around who gets hurt.
Standing around looking.
Get in on the play.
Get in.
You won't get hurt.
There you have it. Leroy Keyes makes it real simple. Get involved in play. That was my goal. If it's gonna be, it's up to me.
It's up to me.
And I wasn't waiting for anybody else to make that play. And I missed one game in college, missed one game in high school, missed one game in the NFL. And I'm sure you played through a lot of things
Oh.
that you probably nowadays thinking, how did I do it? And you're paying for it.
I'm still looking at it today,
You're
Stu.
paying for it now.
But the bottom line is, if someone would walk up to you and I and say, what would you do differently?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I left it all out there.
There's too many guys who sit in the stands today. Too many parents who said, I held my son back too long. I should have let him go when he first wanted to go. The body was not built to take some of the punishment that it takes. But the bottom line is, if you love the game, you respect the game, and you leave it all out on the field, that's all they can ask of you.
You can lay your head down at night knowing that's all I could do.
That's all I can do.
Well, Leroy, it's always a pleasure. Love you. Can't wait to see this homecoming game. Let's get a homecoming W. We can beat Maryland. We know we can beat Maryland. We got a lot of young kids out there, and why not? Like you said, why can't it be right now?
Right now. Let's not wait till next time we play Maryland.
Yeah.
Let's take care of our business, offensively and defensively, and special teams, because you need the whole team to be on the same page. And if we're out there having guys that are saying, well, I can't, it should not even be a statement out of an athlete's mouth.
Absolutely not.
We can, we will, and we must, because we represent the greatest university in the world, Purdue University. We'll be back on 1017 The Hammer, 1017thehammer.com.